good, people? It's your boy Icarus Gray.
And it's your homeboy Wordplay TJ.
And this is the No Rhyme or Reason podcast, where we talk about everything.
Everything for no reason at all. And we're live.
Yeah. This is what happens when you don't. Oh, good gosh.
You literally just pressed that button.
Yep. And I was wanting to do this.
Stop it, Aubrey.
Anyway, what's good, people? It's your boy Icarus Gray.
And it's your homeboy Wordplay TJ.
And this is the No Rhyme or Reason podcast, where we talk about everything.
Everything for no reason at all.
And that awkward intro is as awkward as this interview we just watched.
So we're going to talk about a few things. Drake just released his Iceman 3 trailer thing, live stream doodad. Thingamajiggy. And he also sat down with Bobbi Althoff again. And so we want to talk about why Drake doesn't know his own weaknesses, but he definitely knows yours. And we're going to dive into why Drake denies being a culture vulture. He's taking credit for trends for streamers and influencers.
Yeah.
Why Bobbi thinks Drake is responsible for her decline, which is weird. And also why Drake claims that journalists are mad about him sitting down with Bobbi. I think he took a direct shot at some folks, and so I want to dive into all of those things. So that's what we're going to talk about. So first, he denies being a culture vulture because he's helping Atlanta artists. And in my opinion, the reason why he is a culture vulture, so I'm gonna take the take that he is because he does it without understanding truly what Atlanta culture, or not even Atlanta culture, but what Southern black culture or black culture is to an American.
Okay.
And so him missing the boat on that, him being sensitive about it, and those are his own words.
Yeah.
Makes it feel like he's a hit dog that's hollering.
Yeah, I don't think he is, just in regards to like the fact that I do think the relationships were genuine, and I think a lot of me and you both think that a lot of those beefs in whatever way are fake outside of the Kendrick one. That one I feel is real, but like all the rest of them just for what?
Yeah. But if you're an artist in Atlanta and you're like the next thing smoking, so to speak, right? You're popping in Atlanta, and then Drake says, "I want to do a song with you." Are you turning him down?
No.
Then, so like that would be based off of today's demographics of rappers. I would believe that their favorite rappers are Lil Wayne and then Drake somewhere in that list too.
Yeah.
And because of that, you're not turning down Drake when Drake comes about, which gives him the opportunity to not only propel you, but he is propelled by that. I think he doesn't recognize how he is propelled by American black culture and leveraging American black culture because he thinks he's just doing a good thing.
It also ain't his culture in that way of like, and that's probably also the viewpoint that people are going with. And it's like, but we have so many people that we allow to be adjacent to the culture or whatever the case may be, like, especially in the Canadian space of like how we treat Justin Bieber. Like, we allowed him to soak up and take all of the pop energy of Usher when Usher, co-signed him initially when he came out. And so I don't see that as too much different from this, but it's weird to kind of expect somebody that doesn't have a culture to understand your culture when music kind of speaks differently. in terms of like, it's not hard to get and understand like a rhythm. It's harder to understand the reason behind the rhythm, and it's definitely gonna be harder if it's not your culture.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think underlying this, why people think he's a culture vulture is because I think the way that people feel is he doesn't understand good old fashioned American racism. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Even though he might experience it. Mm-hmm. Right? That doesn't deny any of his experiences, but he doesn't understand how racism impacts American cultures and how like white folks have taken have taken culture and co-opted it for their own gain. It's sort of like Drake doesn't understand he's the vehicle to all the Bobbi Althoffs of the world trying to take black culture. Yeah, you see what I'm saying?
I would kind
them
of
like laying their edges and stuff. They're a fan of Drake, and they see girls with laid edges, and so they go try that, and he doesn't realize that like they're trying to lay their edges because of him.
I kind of feel like he's like the ultimate finished version of what we think Logic does with how Logic looks.
What?
So the whole thing, like with Joe Budden and Logic, right? The whole conversation was about his mixed race and whether he thinks he's mixed race, and Joe thinks he looks too white
to say the N-word.
To say the N-word,
basically,
and all this other stuff, right? Drake don't look white. He acts it because, much to your point, being raised by your mom and all that other stuff, and being in Toronto and not really seeing your dad as much as you want to see your dad, except for like summers or whatever from his songs, gives off that feeling. But the thing about him, though, that's also, again, why do we blame Drake and we don't blame like Jay Prince or Bun B or Wayne or any of the people who made him spend time, whether it was in Texas, all the artists and stuff that he, like the Southern artists that he was connected with. Like, these are people, like if your thing was, let me show you how important this culture is, this is why this is important.
Yeah, but I think, I think what people are really pissed about is sort of like his accents. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like, he puts on a mask for every culture that he wants to fit into. Mm-hmm. Right? So if he goes to the UK, he's going to put on that accent.
Right.
If he goes back home to Toronto, he's going to put on that accent. Mm-hmm. He's going to like speak in a Jamaican accent, right? Like he's going to use that. If he goes down south to Texas, he's gonna try to bring a little Texas twang to it. You know what I mean? If he goes to Atlanta, he's gonna say slime a few times. That's what people are trying to point out, is that he's sort of he's masking at every point where he goes, and he's sort of taking on the identity of folks that actually truly have that identity versus being himself more often.
So are we mad more so at him code switching with us?
No, because that's not code switching.
It would be okay. So a lot of
you code switch for your oppressors, not for your allies.
But that's what I'm saying. And it's like, but that's what, and that's why I think it feels away. Because it's like, even I will, we learn new slang all the time, like even using cap or no cap and, like all those things. Like I use no cap.
Yeah.
We used all the Atlanta slang. I wasn't from Atlanta. Like we use boppas and everything else from Texas. We not from Texas.
Yeah, but that's not using lingo, which culturally spreads like organically, is not the same as changing my accent every time I go somewhere to protect myself from racism. That's not the same.
No, I get what you're saying, but more so what I'm saying is like when we do that in terms of like catching on to an accent or talking like the people that are around you, I don't ever see it being brought up anywhere else. Like people do that. Like people are like you have people that are very adamant about
they're not
Like-
doing it to sell records. That's what I'm
Okay.
trying, that's
Okay.
that's the point I'm making.
Okay.
They're not doing it to sell something to people
Yeah.
in that region.
Right, but yes. And the crazy part about it is this is how it proves the point that he just knows our weaknesses. Because he knows it bothers you.
Yeah, I think so. What bothers people about it is not only is he trying to sell to people in that region whose culture he's not immersed in, he is also exporting that culture to the Bobbi Althoffs of the world because they don't know any better. You see what I'm saying? They don't know any better. They're so aloof to a cultural appropriation that they're just like, Drake did it, so it's fun. You know what I mean? That's what people are pissed about.
Yeah, but I also know that, like, I remember it was one of those shows, like, with Kendrick. And I remember that the kid got on stage and was rapping the bars or whatever. Or it was like him or Schoolboy Q, but there was like a show where I can't remember whether the kid got on stage and said the N-word or didn't say the N-word or like bleeped themselves out or whatever. And it's like, we know that other people outside of our culture are listening to our music, and yet we're not like, hey, stop doing that to other people. It's just with him. Because he knows that it like infuriates us in whatever way, because we know that he's making music for everybody or whatever the case may be.
No. Point to the mic, by the way.
Okay.
Because it's because they're not trying to sell anything to us. That kid on stage wasn't trying to sell anything to anybody.
No, but you were talking about the general effect of Drake to the Bobbi Althoff of the world, and I'm saying, like, well, does the artist that we talk about on the other end have the same effect? It's not as present.
I think some people are trying to hold the Bobbi Althoffs of the world accountable, but they're not trying to hold them accountable in the same way that we're trying to hold Drake accountable, because Drake is trying to make money.
Mm-hmm.
Althoff not trying to, not specifically her, but I'm saying the prototypical suburban person, the prototypical fan, the low bar fan, sorry, is what I'm talking about. They're not trying to come up on, they're not trying to come up in the same way that he's trying to come up.
Yeah, I see that. But it's interesting because I think that, like, if nothing else, he is hyper aware of those things.
He is hyper aware. He knows how to play the game, right? Which is the whole our whole thesis right now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so I think that's another piece, is that, like, he also in this interview with Bobbi took credit for trends that he didn't set.
Yeah. I think that was the most infuriating part of the interview.
Yeah, so to set the scene for those that don't know or didn't watch the interview, and we sat down for the entirety. For the gram. We sat down for it in its entirety in order for us to say, basically, he said that I sat down with you, Bobbi, and then a bunch of people like Nicki Minaj sat down with Kai Cenat and now are trying to sell records in the way that I sat down with you trying to sell records. And in my opinion, I absolutely know that he did not set that trend, because Kai Cenat and other streamers were already sitting down with celebrities and famous people.
Mm-hmm. And they had already had brand deals and everything else. I think was crazy. Like, a lot of those guys had come out to different places with him. And I guess even in that, because of how Kai seemingly stood beside Drake, he would probably be like, see? Like, this is proof of what I'm doing. And it's like, no, he was already doing that. Like, he's just a younger kid. And I feel like the younger kids in that regard were already doing this stuff because they're already in tune with, this is how the new age of content creation goes. They are the soldier boy of this era.
Yeah, Gen Z, Gen Alpha, they're already immersed into streaming and internet culture.
Yeah.
They're paying attention to that, and that is where they get their information from. That is where they get their cultural references from. And they do get it from their friends, right? So none of that old stuff has gone away, right?
Yeah.
Kids still play with their friends outside, by the way. Like as much as we think they don't, they still do. And what I'm saying to you is that, like, them understanding or getting to know randomly Shaquille O'Neal through a stream as Shaquille O'Neal, but not Shaquille O'Neal, the NBA player, the NCAA player from Baton Rouge. You know what I mean? Like that's what they know him for. Is Shaquille O'Neal was on Kai's stream and did some funny stuff or ate some hot wings. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's what they know him as, not as the supreme basketball player that he is. And so what I'm saying is, Drake can't take credit for that when it already exists.
No, not at all. And that was like one of the weird things, but like what's crazy about this interview, right? There are people are like, he breaks his silence, and I'm like, on what? Like he broke his marketing like hiatus, and even then he didn't really do that because he's been marketing throughout, whether it was the album with him and P&D, whether, you know, he immediately started with the Iceman stuff, when we got to What Did I Miss and everything else, and kind of keeping the conversation going. His cryptic Instagram post about LeBron, and when that verse that was like on Instagram got leaked where he was talking about LeBron and everything else, like he's never stopped promoting or feeding into what I think is his greatest asset, which is he knows that people are not going to ignore him. You just don't have it in you.
Yeah, and I think that's the reason why he sits down with Bobbi, is because he knows that Bobbi is not going to ask questions. Not the questions that we want to ask.
Right.
Like, he's not back. He's not sitting down with a journalist. He's sitting down with the person that doesn't even care about beef in the first place.
No. It's really weird because I think we were talking about this a little bit off air to even figure out what she thinks about what she's doing. Because, you know, she was talking to him about like, hey, you caused my fall off and this, that, and the third. And it's like, we just went through her video numbers and her fall off didn't quote unquote start until like 2 months ago.
And that's even relative, right?
Yeah.
Because compared to like,
oh yeah,
podcasters like us, she didn't fall off in the first place.
No.
You're talking hundreds of thousands of views, if not millions of views on her videos.
Yeah, 1.5 million subscribers in 2 years is not where's your fall off?
Her perception of fall off is, I didn't go viral this week. I didn't go viral this week consistently. If I'm not viral every time I put something out, I have fallen off. Or if my sponsors are not spending as much money because I'm not generating as many views, then I have fallen off. And what she doesn't realize is that it's a creator dip. There's always a rise where you go viral, and then there's a slump right after, and then you slowly like progress upward in a sort of, not even in an exponential fashion. Sometimes it can be, but like you just kind of creep up.
Yeah.
It's sort of like a stair step in the way that it goes for some people. You'll have something go viral occasionally, and then you'll just hit these bumps. It's sort of like milestones. And she doesn't know that's a reality because she doesn't know anything.
You know what I just realized? Drake is a Jerry Springer paternity test episode.
You got to say more.
Okay, here we go.
I'm not going to like this, but...
Because every time we see him, we know the outcome. Like, we're looking and waiting for the "you are not the father." And we're so addicted to like waiting to like, oh, is she gonna get up and run?
It's like gambling.
It's like gambling, which he also has problems and issues
that
with.
take ain't as bad as I thought it was.
No, because like I'm just thinking about us in terms of our inability to look away, right? Because at some point, it's not like I really care about anything other than the music at this point.
Well, if you're a content creator, you can't look away.
No.
And if you're a Bobbi type person, you're definitely not going to look away because it's Bobbi and Drake, right? Like,
right.
It's you and Drake sitting together. You see what I'm saying? Like, your avatar is sitting with Drake because you've never seen that happen before. You don't feel like this could happen in real life. Yeah. And as your proximity to fame or living vicariously through famous people is what Instagram is what TikTok is. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and that's really what she did. And I even more so see your point now about her being the avatar, because it's like she had the whole moment where she was like, I didn't really know anything about you. I didn't know anything about your music. And I think for artists, especially not just Drake in terms of talking about the Elliott Wilsons and everything else of the world, but you do want people that you can have an interesting question because you don't necessarily know anything about me. Do I want it to be her? No, not really. But I do think there's some value in a person that doesn't know you the way that the journalist will know you and ask the same questions, because journalism is so different. I remember Mark Lamont Hill on Joe Budden podcast talking about
Wait a minute. Before you move on to a different take, why is it important for him to sit down with different people?
I think it just gives you a fresh take and fresh, interesting tidbits that you can give your fans or give to people.
How?
Because it's new. Because every journalist is going to ask the same question, whether they think they are or not, because it's not the same. It's not like when Mark talked about, and this was my juxtaposition to this point, when he was talking about like how they used to get music, right? They used to have to sit with a single for 2 months, listening to it, writing out their thoughts. We were not in this air fryer, quick microwavable society where we were expecting them to, the album drop Monday, you need to tell me what you think on Monday before the day is over. And tell me whether or not it's a classic, tell me whether or not it's 5 mics, tell me whether or not you love the production, all of these things, right? But now, because you're still trying to do journalism in the midst of all of that, everybody's going to ask the same questions. Now, if you get a Clips rollout where you've invited people over the years to come and listen to the music and enjoy these things, we can get something that's different, because, again, that's going back to the older model of you being able to sit with the music. But I think him doing this with her is more so, again, a middle finger to what journalism, I guess, is today. And do you think that there's anybody that, or interview he could have done that would have been different than an Elliott Wilson or a Zane Lowe, as he meant? Well, he mentioned Zane Lowe and then took the quote from Elliott.
So, to answer your question, I think that somebody could have taken it to a different place. But it had to be somebody that will actually ask the right questions, not the same old journalistic questions. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So like, it's somewhere sort of in the middle. We're talking about the hyperbolized edges.
Yes.
We're talking about Bobbi, who's on the edge of the aloof fan. And then we're on the other. He's criticizing the other end, which is the elitist journalist, so to speak. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so, he's not talking about, let's say, somebody that's going to actually ask him about the beef and be entertained by what he's doing or ask him more about Iceman. We need somebody in the middle of that. You know what I mean? Not somebody that's like gonna ask the same like pinpointed research questions.
Do we think that person is being made? Because I think that with the Bobbys and even with the Elliots and with the Rob Markmans and how they're kind of engaging with social media and stuff now, that maybe we're getting there.
I don't think we're getting there. And I also don't know that those journalists are ever going to be like the streamers. I think the streamers are gonna move to that position.
I do too, because I mean they already are.
Right. Their audience is gonna age up with them.
Yeah. Ooh.
And they're gonna become the authority. And so their authority, so to speak, because I'm not saying that as a hard, like, they know the facts. Yeah. You know what I mean? They're not news.
Yeah.
They're not news, and that's the point.
And he knows that. And I think he also, but that might go back to your point about the culture vulture thing, in terms of being ahead of, like, seeing the trend and knowing that that's where everything is going. So they're not, like, listening to all of the other people, because the Bobbys of the world are going to carry his music further than the standard people who we listen to would.
Yeah, I want to pause for a second because we didn't introduce why he's taking shots at Elliott Wilson.
Oh, yeah. Go ahead.
Drake is taking shots at Elliott Wilson through this part, and I think this is specifically what Drake is mad about. Mm-hmm. Elliott Wilson, back in 2023, I think it was around July, put a tweet up, and this is according to Hip Hop DX. And Elliott wrote, "A moment of clarity, no disrespect to Lil Boat. Yachty's convo with the boy was comfy, and he had some cool moments. I was more so clowning the comedy shenanigans with outsiders to our culture. It would be great to hear Drake speak to us again, even if it ain't me." Mm-hmm. And so I think there's a misperception of what journalists are asking for. They're asking for, like, hey, we're fans of this music and this culture.
Right.
When are you going to talk about the cultural pieces with somebody, even if they're not challenging you? You know what I mean? Even if they're not putting you in a space that is uncomfortable for you. When are you going to talk about the culture again?
Do we think he can? Because
Drake?
Yeah, because, like, if we're going to say you don't have a culture, you just kind of mask everything, do we even think the interviews would be interesting? Because he hasn't done a lot of that.
I personally think no.
Yeah.
I don't think you prove it through sitting down with a journalist. Mm-hmm. I think you prove it through songs.
Wait.
You authentically be yourself in music.
Who do we think he is in music then? Like, if we don't know,
not any of these masks.
Like, do we think he's the Little Brother Joe Budden inspired guy that was on Comeback Season?
Yes.
And do we think that, but like, so he should be in more of a Gambino route?
No. I'm not saying that he should. No, I think even alluding to a Gambino route is a little too on the nose for as an example. I think Drake can make a hit that is both mainstream and fashion, that is melodic, that is vulnerable, and that is also lyrical to a degree, that could keep people entertained.
Right.
I don't believe when he goes and does Jamaican in his raps that is truly him. It works because people want the vibes. But the people that want the vibes are not you and me. The people that want the vibes are the Bobbys of the world.
But basically, I think that Drake has been groomed in a way that doesn't necessarily connect him to the culture in at any point, really. I think that being attached to Wayne in the way that he was, with the comments that Wayne has made about culture, in regards to like when he got shot, he talks a lot about how he feels racism was dead because of the cop that came, or when he shot himself, I should say. Let me clarify. When
That
the
shouldn't
cop,
be funny, but
when the white cop came and they still have a relationship and all these things, that while he would make all of this music that feels like it's connected to us, but would also say things that don't feel that way. And then you create artists from that mold. You know, you create Nicki Minaj, you create these artists who start in a certain place, both connected to Atlanta in terms of when their push really started going. And you get to the heights and then you kind of just leave it for pop stuff. Well, Nicki specifically left for pop stuff. Drake kind of, you know.
Yeah. I'm trying to stick to your original point.
I just think the culture around him created this. I don't think he ever had a real connection that would have given him the things that we want from him.
I think what people just want from him is to be himself. And I don't think he learned that from other people. I think he just is that. You see what I'm saying? Like, he is an actor.
Mm-hmm.
And so he's always playing a part. He's playing a role.
But do I then think that like all of his life is inauthentic to the things that he talks about in his music?
No, because you can hyperbolize everything that's true about yourself.
Yeah, most people do.
Yeah. It's like it's like, you know, exaggerating a true story, right? Like it based off a true story is what he is, and that's okay to a degree when you're working in song. I'm not saying that he needs to be as deep or as impactful or as real as Talib Kweli.
Okay.
Nobody is saying that. He just needs to stop faking the funk. And what faking the funk means is, Drake, if you are not tough, you don't have to be tough. What did I miss? What did I miss? And surrounded by guns. That's what we're talking about.
I see it. It's just one of those things that I feel like hip hop in that way created that level of culture. So like even Gambino, right?
But hip hop didn't do that.
Well, the person, right? So I think
the Bobbies did that to hip hop. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, I can see what you mean. But like we always knew that those kids were buying records too. We just didn't take enough notice to actually care in a certain way about what that meant. And that's what I mean by the hip hop problem. Because It's like, we knew that like when you're selling 1 million records, it ain't just us buying your records. And how do we want to interact with that? How do we want to leverage our culture? The fact that we talk about it all the time, like we know the culture is going to be sold and is being sold.
Yeah, I just don't know that we're not in mass enough to solve that problem.
Yeah. And we can't solve this Drake problem,
right?
Like, because it's just gonna be a present.
But
thing.
what we can do is take our little sliver of percentage and take it off of that mass. You see what I'm saying? And support other artists that we find are culturally relevant that can also make good songs. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? Like, we could export some of our attention from Drake to Joey Badass, who we really appreciate.
Yeah. But are we? Because it doesn't seem as fun.
I think that is your point of view, is that we are not likely to take... your point of view is not about the Bobbies. Your point of view is never about the lay fan, you're always questioning whether or not we're going to take our attention away and do Drake like we just did Target.
Or any of those things. Like, do we have it in us to, because if we're not going to do the things like Target to actually bring attention to somebody else, so if we're like not going to Target, but we're patronizing other places that are then increasing their financial, creating their gains, why are we not like taking our listens to other people or uplifting those artists in that way? Because there's something that we inherently want from the artists we feel are at the top, and it's the way he acts. Because you can sell out the Kendrick tours all you want, but the Bobbys and stuff of the world are always just going to want to hear Drake and Target.
Yeah, but
or wherever they're going.
Which is funny because that's exactly what Mos Def said. Mm-hmm. Or Yasin Bey said.
Yeah. Like, but that is the truth. Like, I need a soundtrack to my life. Can you provide that? Like, I don't want to live my life 90% of the time listening to music that makes me think about how bad life is around me, or even makes me more aware of all of these things, is what the Bobbys of the world are saying through their actions and through their dollars. Because, like, again, 4 days we're already at 1 million views just to hear what he has to say, while we think, or while the culture is saying that they think he's corny, they don't like the lawsuit, they don't like all of these things. And it's like, well, put your actions behind what it is that you're doing, because all that continues to happen is just fueling the fire of what you say you don't like. And we can't, I don't see us escaping that. Like you said, like, I just don't. Because that would be too much like right to actually turn the TV off and go on about our business. Like,
yeah. You know. So speaking of turning the TV off, this third Iceman installment.
What is this? What is this?
It is nothing, by the way. I do want to let you know that he could have just dropped the song without all of this random driving through the town, listening to songs, or being followed by Pinocchios, which is basically saying that everybody that's trailing him is lying. He could have just put out a record and it would have gotten just as much traction as putting out a random Iceman. Like, he's a prime troll.
Yeah.
And he is trolling with these Iceman rollouts because I think he just creatively wants to do something different than just put the song out.
I agree. But what do y'all think? Were y'all interested in this, not this again, because they knew you were going to watch it? Do you even care about the album, or do you care more about him answering to all the things from the beef to the lawsuit to relationship woes, or whatever it is that he's going through? What is it that you care about? Because I don't care about any of it. But I just have to do this because it's our job. And we'll see you in the next piece. A 1 and a 2 and peace.